Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to the organizers for allowing me the opportunity to present my research. It is a pleasure to be here today. Today, I'll be presenting the results of a compositional study of early First Millennium AD ceramics. So, the region in which my study takes place is the Kruger National Park, located in the northeastern region of South Africa. The site itself is located along the banks of one of the park's perennial rivers, specifically the Letaba River. This river has long supported human and animal activity, making it an important location for understanding past human settlement and resource use. The site is known as the Letaba Archaeological Site and is a first millennium AD settlement with occupation ranging roughly AD 500 to AD 1000. The first millennium AD period in southern Africa was a period of major change, marked by the spread of permanent farming communities and the growth of trade and exchange networks. Letaba is a key settlement example from this period. Originally, the communities at Letaba were described as marginal and peripheral agropastoralists by previous researchers. However, current research from 2021 to present has revealed evidence of Letaba's role within the expansion of these early trading networks and the expansion of the Indian Ocean trade network into the interior of southern Africa. Recent discoveries such as Asian glass beads and Persian Gulf style ceramics are evidence of this early East Coast trade. These traded goods were found in association with local pottery that is unique and peculiar to southern Africa. However, despite past research done on these ceramic industries, they still remain poorly understood both compositionally and stylistically. And given the Letaba community's participation with this early East Coast connection, the provenience of the site's local ceramics assemblage remains particularly intriguing, as these Southern African ceramics may not have been produced locally at the site. Additionally, due to the palimpsest nature of Letaba, the past occupational patterns are still unclear. Although Letaba was clearly connected to this early Indian Ocean trade network, evidenced by the Asian glass beads and Persian Gulf style ceramics, the origin and production of its local ceramic assemblage is still not well understood. This raises the key questions of whether Letaba's ceramic assemblage was locally produced, imported, or a combination of both. In answering this, we can better understand patterns of mobility and interaction at the site, as well as past occupational patterns at Letaba during this early First Millennium period. The primary objective is to demonstrate how stylistic typology, coupled with portable X-ray fluorescence, can reveal insights into ceramic provenience and past occupational patterns. The initial step of this research project was to conduct a stylistic analysis on the site's local ceramic assemblage. This was done using a well-established methodology that many Southern African archaeologists use to develop ceramic typologies. Vessels were grouped into types based on their shared stylistic characteristics, so particularly decoration placement, and vessel form, and from this, 43 types were identified. These types then served as and guided the sampling strategy for the portable X-ray fluorescence. Vessels were chosen from each type, and the number of vessels chosen from that type was based on the proportional size of the stylistic type. This resulted in 140 vessels, which was roughly half of the assemblage and allowed for a full range of stylistic variation. A small sample was removed from each of the vessels that were chosen for PXRF using a diamond saw and as seen in figure A, and this sample was analyzed on the PXRF machine. PXRF is particularly useful as it can help identify elemental compositions and chemical signatures within specific specimens. In this instance, it was used to identify the vessel's ceramic fabric, and how it does this is essentially the machine blasts the ceramic sample with X-rays, and the atoms within that sample emit back fluorescent X-rays that can be identified by the machine, and we can therefore identify chemical compositions in the ceramic fabric. Often chemical signatures reflect the geology of clay source areas, as different landscapes have distinct chemical and mineral compositions. Therefore, we used PXRF to identify compositional groups within the Lataba's local ceramic assemblage, where chemically similar vessels reflect shared ceramic fabrics and elemental outliers reflected those with different ceramic fabrics. The stylistic analysis resulted in 43 distinct types. This relatively large number of types suggests that the local ceramic assemblage at Letaba has a high degree of stylistic diversity, as ceramic styles during this period in Southern Africa were often unique to specific communities. The stylistic variation that we see within this assemblage could reflect changes in who was living at the site over time, or the movement of people, or possibly the spread of stylistic ideas. The PXRF results have been represented on a PCA plot using principal component 1 and principal component 3 to represent the data. Majority of the ceramic samples cluster tightly around the center of the plot, indicating that they have a shared chemical composition and by implication a broadly similar ceramic fabric. Given the presence of clay sources in and around the Letaba site and the fact that approximately 99% of the vessels fall within the central cluster, it is likely that these ceramics were most likely produced from the same geological region, and we can strongly suggest that they were predominantly locally produced in and around the Letaba site. The horizontal and vertical axes show the main directions of chemical variation. So samples that lie closer to the right are associated with higher values of iron and rubidium and potassium, for example, whilst those that are closer to the left are influenced by copper and manganese. Some samples are noticeably further away from the main cluster, as evidenced by the two main outliers seen in Figure B and Figure C. These two vessels have different levels of zirconium and niobium and may reflect vessels that were made from a different ceramic fabric. Overall, the results indicate that majority of the site's local ceramic assemblage was made with a similar ceramic fabric, and we can interpret that majority of them were locally produced in and around the Letaba area. This observed stylistic variation that we see can therefore be as a result of different First-Millennium AD communities moving into the Letaba site and producing pottery with their own unique stylistic variations, but using these same ceramic fabrics. By combining stylistic typology with portable X-ray fluorescence, we have provided new insights into ceramic provenience and past occupational patterns at Letaba during this early First Millennium period. Whilst PXRF is useful in establishing elemental signatures and broad compositional patterns for the local ceramic assemblage, it cannot independently confirm specific production locations or specific clay source areas, as it can only provide a general chemical profile of the ceramic fabric. Therefore, it cannot identify individual minerals or tempers that were used and that can be used to pinpoint specific clay sources or specific production techniques. To fully understand specific production techniques that are often associated with unique and specific First Millennium communities in Southern Africa, as well as identify specific provenience and specific clay source areas, a method called optical petrology is required. This will be the next stage of my research, where I intend to take 21 samples based off of the PXRF results and, using geological methods such as optical petrology, conduct an analysis on the ceramics clay to identify minerals and production techniques that can help us better understand both provenience and specific communities moving into the Letaba site during this early First Millennium period. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to know more about the Letaba project, you can visit the Archeo Letaba website. And thank you again to the organizers for allowing me the opportunity to present my research.